President Trump delivers a speech for the ages, and the Democrats have an absolute meltdown. Good morning, Kuhner country. Look, my friends, I'm not usually in the business of, you know me, I like to give the most original, independent analysis that I can possibly give. I rarely quote other talking heads or commentators. But I gotta say, after watching Trump's magnificent speech, I think it was one of the best speeches I've ever heard to a joint session of Congress. It was almost a flawless speech, frankly. A powerful, a bold, brave, defiant, really almost a statement speech for what the next 4 years of his presidency is going to be. Brit Hume on Fox News, I thought absolutely nailed it when he said Donald Trump tonight has shown and proven without a shadow of a doubt that Donald Trump is now the political colossus of our age. And I think that really sums up his speech. It was from beginning to end one of the best speeches I've ever heard. One of the best speeches I've ever seen. It laid out what he wants to do for the 4 years of his presidency. It laid out his common sense revolution. He threw down the gauntlet to the Democrats. And what he essentially told the Democrats, the left, and the media, we won, you lost. And we're taking this country now in a very different direction. That the era of open borders, the era of free trade, the era of endless war, the era of rising inflation and high interest rates, that the era of the globalists and globalism is over. And that's really what last night's speech signified. The dying of the old order, the birth of a new order, one marked by common sense, populism, patriotism, nationalism, and a great optimistic self-confidence of an incredibly prosperous future. What we heard last night, I believe, is the blueprint for not just Donald Trump's second term, but for MAGA over the next decade. It had absolutely everything, and I mean everything, that he wants to accomplish. And if he does accomplish, he truly will go down in history as one of the greatest, maybe the greatest president we've ever had. He wants to not just secure the border, he wants to deport every single illegal alien. He wants to unleash trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in foreign investment, capital investment into the United States for our country to boom. He wants massive permanent tax cuts across the board to fatten the wallets of middle and working class people. He wants to weed out the grotesque, obscene waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. He wants to end the disastrous trade deals that have seen millions of our jobs shipped overseas, the deindustrialization of America. As he put it, we are going to have tariffs. Countries are no longer going to be ripping us off. The days of our wealth being drained and siphoned off and outsourced are over. And we are finally going to have a foreign policy that will end these disastrous wars and that will put the United States national interest front and center. He says we will lower crime. We will stop these crazy green energy policies. We will unleash American oil and natural gas production. And we will win the battle with China to find rare earth minerals that you need to power a modern economy that we have today, that we need for our military, that we need for our technology, that we need for our businesses, that we need to compete in the world. It had literally absolutely everything with his marching orders given to Congress. And in reply, the Democrats had nothing. In fact, they had more than nothing, or let's put it more accurately, less than nothing. It was, I've never seen a party display this kind of obstructionism, obnoxiousness. They were behaving like children. The only word I kept coming all night was, they're behaving like children. And they set the tone very early. I've never, ever seen this in any State of the Union address or any joint address to a joint session of Congress. When Democrat Congressman Al Green kept shouting and shouting and shouting as President Trump spoke, to the point that you couldn't hear what the president was saying. And then he stood there waving his cane menacingly at Trump. And all he kept yelling was, you have no mandate. You have no mandate. You have no mandate. Being egged on by these idiot Democrats, many of them wearing pink dresses or pink outfits in celebration of women's rights, when just the night before, every single Democrat in the Senate voted against banning men and males from female and women's sports. And they're going to lecture us about women's rights? Are you kidding me? And there was Al Green shaking his cane at President Trump and yelling, shouting, screaming, talking over Trump, not letting the president speak, to the point where Mike Johnson finally said, we need to have good order and decorum. Mr. Green, I'm warning you. Sit down, take your seat. And he stood there and he started to yell even louder and shake his cane even more violently at Trump. And then they chucked him out. Literally, they called the sergeant at arms and the this fool. And that's what he is. He's a fool. He's a clown. Literally was forcibly exited and pushed out of Congress. They kicked him out. And that set the tone for the entire night. As Trump, I thought, brilliantly said early on in his speech, there is nothing I can say or do. I can cure cancer. I can put people on Mars. I can create the greatest economy in the history of the world. I could literally, if I could, usher in world peace. And you Democrats still would hate me, despise me, wouldn't cheer me or clap for me or even smile. And they ended up proving him right the entire night. And this, my friends, needs to be said. I think in many ways, the Democrats last night, and they're in a big hole politically to begin with, showed America their true colors. It's going to be much worse. What they showed last night was not just their hatred for America, their contempt for Donald Trump, their sheer insanity on issue after issue. But what they really showed was how heartless they are. Did you notice the only moment in the entire speech, and it was what, a 2-hour speech? It was the longest address to Congress by any president. They only cheered one time. And that's when Trump mentioned Ukraine. That's it. That's literally it. I saw Democrats on the floor, many of them wearing blue and yellow ties in solidarity with Ukraine, or blue and yellow scarves in solidarity with Ukraine. And the only time that they celebrated or cheered or smiled was when Trump mentioned Ukraine and having sent them hundreds of billions of dollars. That's it. They hate America. They didn't even cheer when President Trump specifically singled out a 13-year-old black boy, DJ Daniels, battling cancer since he was a child, and then made him an honorary member of the Secret Service because his life dream is to be in law enforcement. And I had tears in my eyes when that beautiful boy's father lifted him up to the crowd in Congress, and everybody was clapping. Everybody. This is a boy with cancer, for God's sake. And the Democrats sat on their hands. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, to her eternal shame, rolled her eyes. You can't clap for a boy with cancer? These people are sick, they're evil, and they expose themselves once and for all.
And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
That was just a taste of last night's address to a joint session of Congress by President Donald J. Trump. He killed it. I'm telling you, he absolutely killed it. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Did you see the address to Congress? And do you agree with the Kuhner man? Do you think it was a magnificent speech laying out the blueprint for what Trump wants to accomplish, his so-called common sense revolution over the next 4 years? And were you as disgusted as I was by the behavior of Democrats? And honestly, I think they're going to pay a tremendous price for their behavior, for their obnoxiousness, for their nastiness, for the sheer contempt and hatred that they displayed, not just for Trump, but for the victims of crime, for the families that Trump singled out, for many issues that should be bipartisan issues. It was just stunning on their part. It truly was. It was an ugly, ugly face that they showed to the country last night. And by the way, opinion polls, quick polls taken, CNN says that the overwhelming majority of Americans by 76 to 23 approved of Trump's speech. That's a 53-point margin. 76 to 80% approved of Trump's speech, only about 20 or 23 disapproved. So what I'm saying is Trump is starting to build almost an 80-20 country right now. And the Democrats showed why they're in the 20% last night. So I just stand back objectively, and then I want to start taking calls. 617-266-6868. They refuse to stand and recognize or show respect. Now think about this. For the mother and sister of Laken Riley, who was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. The mother of Joycelyn Nungare was in the chamber, and Trump recognized her and her 11-year-old daughter, Joycelyn Nungare, who was brutally raped, sexually assaulted, and then viciously murdered under a bridge. They refused to stand. They refused to stand when Peyton McNabb, a young woman playing high school sports was involved in a game in which a biological male was allowed to play for the other team and hit the volleyball so hard that it smashed her head. She fell to the ground unconscious. She now has permanent brain damage or brain injury and partial paralysis. And he asked her to stand, and they didn't stand. No Democrats stood up. And then the one that I just couldn't believe this. Honest to God, I couldn't believe this. A 13-year-old boy with cancer for the last 7 years, battling cancer, dressed in a police uniform. They've made him many police departments have made him a DJ Daniels, a beautiful black boy, a young, beautiful boy who wants to grow up and become a police officer. That's his dream. And so Trump said, you know what? Here's DJ. Law enforcement loves him. He wants to be a law enforcement officer one day. DJ, I'm going to make you an honorary member of the Secret Service. And that's when the head of the Secret Service came and gave him a Secret Service badge with his picture and his name on it. And the boy's face just lit up. And then he hugged the Secret Service agent. And then his father proudly lifted his boy up for everyone. Roll cut 12, Mike.
Sean Curran to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
How do you not clap at that? Look, I'm sorry. Look, I didn't like Joe Biden. I didn't like Barack Obama. I wasn't a big fan of George W. Bush. But if they did something like this, and I'm a sitting member of Congress or a senator, of course you stand up and clap. Forget who the president is. Out of respect for the boy, out of respect for the father of the boy, for the family. It's a boy with cancer, for God's sake. And the Democrats couldn't even stand up and clap for that? They showed who they really are last night. And I'm telling you, it has turned the country's stomach, and it's something we're going to not forget for a very long time. Your calls next. Okay, the phone lines are loaded. 632 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. All right, Kuhner Country, I want to ask you really the basic questions. Two of them. Did you watch the State of the Union? It was technically a State of the Union. Did you watch the address to the joint session of Congress? What did you make of it? Did you like Trump's speech? And the Democrats, did they absolutely disgrace themselves? I say yes. What say you? Larry in Leominster. You're going to kick us off, Larry. Thanks for holding. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you, sir?
Very good. After last night, Larry, the Dems look defeated and lost before the speech. They're even more defeated and lost after the speech.
I literally cheered when they threw the Geico caveman out. Then I went right to Facebook and I said, "Woo, he found out, didn't he?" Jeff, I owe you an apology. I try to listen to 4 hours a day, but yesterday I had to go in for my colonoscopy, my cancer check. They didn't find any Jasmine Crockett's, but they found a couple of AOCs, but I'm going to be okay.
Oh, God bless you, Larry. That's
right?
all that matters, my friend.
Exactly. And that's something. I give him an A+ with one caveat. I'd wished when he noticed that the Democrats were not standing up and cheering that little cancer survivor, that he didn't turn to them and go, "You can't even cheer this boy on." How pathetic. On that, everything was perfect.
Larry, let me ask you, in all honesty, brutally honest, okay, like you and I are in the confessional, were you shocked at how cold-hearted, how indifferent, honestly, how mean and nasty the Democrats were yesterday? I don't mean that they were heckling Trump, that they made fools of themselves with their stupid bingo cards and, false and Elon steals. And I mean, they look like clowns, or interrupting him and Al Green having to be kicked out. I don't mean that. I mean, as you mentioned, you've got a kid with brain cancer, for God's sake. You've got a grieving mother who lost her daughter to a criminal, illegal alien who murdered her. You've got Joycelyn Nungare's mother. You've got the family of that firefighter, Corey Comparator, with, the wife and the children who, lost their father and husband taking a bullet that was meant for Donald Trump. And you can't stand up and clap for that? You can't show some humanity for that? Larry, am I wrong? There's something, these people are sick. They're sick. They're twisted. They're pathological. There's something seriously wrong with these people. Larry, am I wrong? Were you shocked at the depths of their depravity?
I was, like I said, at one point I was actually kind of surprised. Like, how you not going to do this? And to have Debbie Wasserman Schultz roll her eyes, just vile, right? I guess they were being dastardly. However, and I want to temper this, right? How you're saying that they're going to pay for this. One thing is going to make them pay. And unfortunately, it's not the rape and death of the little girl or Lake and Riley or the girl that was injured. It's going to be the boy with the cancer. Here's why. It's a small group of people, an unfortunate group, that can truly identify with murder victims' families, right? Jeff, you're my age. How many murder victims do you know or their families?
Ooh, I mean, Larry, to be honest, in terms of my personal circle, none. Family circle, none. I only know a few, but that's because of my job. It's a very public job. I talk to a lot of people on the air, and people talk to me off the air. But Larry, you're right. I don't, in my circle of friends or people that I know, or nobody that I know has been murdered.
How many people do you know either passed from cancer or survived cancer?
Oh my God. Well, my mother, just to start right there.
Exactly. Mine too. The reason why I get colonoscopies is because my brother got colon cancer at 40 when I was 28. Ugh. So I'm an instant candidate. Now, he survived, don't get me wrong. But my point is, that's the one thing every American can resonate with. Although I'm surprised because I swore Joe said he cured cancer. But that's what is going to resonate. That the fact that they were silent when that father was holding up that boy with that new badge, and they couldn't even cheer that on. That's what's going to sting. And I'm not placating the murder victims' families. I'm not downplaying that, but that's the one that every American can identify with. And that's what's going to hurt.
Larry, I think it's a brilliant point. I think you're absolutely correct. And just to add a little something to what you just said, and it's a child with brain cancer. And he looks so sympathetic, you know, with that little, like the uniform, the law enforcement uniform, what is it? I think it was a sheriff's uniform or whatever. He had that uniform and he wants to be a law enforcement officer and that's his life's dream. And it's what's keeping him going. It's what's keeping his family going. I mean, how could it not pull at your heartstrings? I mean, you're not a human being if that doesn't pull at your heartstrings. But I guess the Democrats aren't human beings. Look, I'll be honest. I was flooded with emails last night. You know, I usually get a lot of emails, but last night it was email after email. And it was that particular moment, especially, where people were saying, Jeff, I'm sorry, but these Democrats are diabolical. One literally said, Jeff, they must be Satanists. How your heart cannot go out to a boy, a 13-year-old boy battling brain cancer. And the way his eyes lit up, his face lit up, the way he hugged that Secret Service agent, thanking him, with tears slightly streaming down his cheeks, and his father so proud and holding up his son again, and everybody around him, and all the Republicans are like clapping and like, yeah, God bless you, you know, and a tribute to the boy and to his resilience, his spirit, obviously to law enforcement. This boy wants to become a law enforcement officer. That was the whole point. Trump was saying we have to support law enforcement, and look at this boy. He's battling cancer, but he wants to become, you know, a law enforcement officer when he grows up. He's going to battle through this cancer and he's going to achieve his dream. I mean, if you don't clap for that, then I'm sorry. You're scum. Larry, I have to say it. The Democrats are scum. That's what they showed last night. They're absolute bottom-feeding scum. Larry, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Am I wrong? I want to ask the audience. Seriously, am I wrong? Denise in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Denise, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing, honey?
Good. How are you, Denise?
Thanks for the call. You know, that was a disgrace last night, the disrespectful left. I'll tell you, that hurt me so bad, especially with that little boy, too. All the victims they just didn't clap, they didn't stand, they did nothing. How a disgrace they are. You know what the best part of Trump's speech was, Trump? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what the best part of his speech was? When he pointed to all that left and called them lunatics, and that he was going to clean that swamp. That was the best of his speech. When he called them all lunatics, because that's exactly what they are. That little boy, God bless his soul. My mother was 66 when she died of cancer. And it was really a sad, sad time in my life. And I felt so bad for that little boy, and they couldn't even stand up for that little boy. God love him.
Denise, I'm not trying to pour gasoline on the fire. Forget stand up. They couldn't even clap. Sitting on their rear ends, they couldn't even clap. That's what was so... In fact, as I said, many of them were rolling their eyes. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she was caught on tape. She's rolling her eyes like, oh, please. Oh, spare me. Oh. I mean, I mean, they're inhuman. Denise, I'm telling you, they're inhuman. And look, you're right. And again, I don't want to quote Brit Hume, but I just thought he gave the best analysis, frankly. He said, look, it was the most partisan speech, you know, to a joint session of Congress or a State of the Union, but it was also the most effective. And I think it was the most effective because he took the Democrats on head on. He took them, he took them on head on. And you're right. He told them to their face, you guys are crazy. You're extreme. You're unhinged. 650 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Did you watch President Trump's address to the joint session of Congress last night? And do you agree with the Kuhner man that Trump delivered an absolutely masterful performance? And were you as disgusted and really did your stomach turn, revolted, as I was by the Democrats, their antics, their behavior, and their obstructionism. And frankly, just lack of class and decorum. 650 on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. Okay, this is from T. Edward, who messaged me on Messenger, and it goes right to Larry's point about how everybody knows someone who is battling cancer or died of cancer or had cancer or has cancer. And this is what T. Edward wrote to me. Jeff, as you know, on Messenger, Jeff, as you know, I am in law enforcement. I could care less that the left hates me, but to not show support and happiness for a 13-year-old boy battling brain cancer is beyond reproach. It is so evil, vile, and disgusting. My mother died when I was 11 from cancer. I know multiple people with cancer who have either died or survived it, to include family and close friends. And yes, Larry makes a great point. The ripple effect of that alone should make anybody that supports the left hang their head in disgust. I agree. T. Edward, frankly, I couldn't have said it better myself. Really. Okay, very quick. This is from 508. Sorry, text line's really, a lot of texts are pouring in. 70470. Jeff, the Democrats hate America. Sorry, the Democrats hate Trump more than they love America. They are blinded by their hatred. And I think that's what was on full display last night. It was Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. That's what we saw. Okay. This is from 617. Jeff, Democrats kneeled, eulogized, and literally cried for a violent criminal, i.e. George Floyd, after he died during an arrest. But they refused to stand last night for Laken Riley. Well, there you go. I mean, really, there you go. In a nutshell, that's how insane the Democrat, and frankly evil, the Democratic Party has become. Laken Riley was an innocent victim of a criminal, illegal alien who had no business being in America, who was allowed in by Joe Biden, who was then sent to the sanctuary city of New York, who was arrested in the sanctuary city of New York, and they still let him loose. And then he went down there and butchered that poor young 22-year-old woman. And you can't stand for her? You can't stand for her mother? You can't stand for her sister? But you can kneel and eulogize and openly weep for George Floyd, who, by the way, had a rap sheet as long as my arm? Wee-oo. Okay. The Democrats heckled. Al Green interrupted him. Wade shook his cane at him. Eventually was kicked out of the chamber. But it was all night. The Democrats wouldn't stand. The Democrats wouldn't clap. The Democrats wouldn't smile. It was all out opposition. They hate him. And they made it very clear from the beginning. They despise him. They despise his agenda. They despise the Republican Party. And yes, they despise America. Trump took them on head on. He looked at him and then, without backing away or flinching, said this. Roll cut 2B, Mike.
And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded, And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here.
In other words, I could find the cure for cancer, and they'd hate me. And that set the tone. This was early in his speech. And that set the tone for the entire speech. And let me tell you what I love about Trump. He understands that the best defense is a good offense. He kept the Democrats on their back heels the entire night. He would constantly go back and hit them, and hit them, and hit them, and remind them of their failed record, of Biden's failed policies, of the disaster that they unleashed on America. He never let them off the hook. And that's why they got even angrier, which meant that they became even more wild, even more nasty, even more vicious, which made them look even worse. He baited them. He set trap after trap, and they fell for it every single time. An absolute masterclass. This was Trump on offense. And I'm telling you, if he's going to do this for 4 years, he is going to destroy the Democratic Party, and he's going to usher in a generation of MAGA rule. Agree, disagree. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, sir. Hey, Jeff, I'm gonna knock on the grave of the communists and see if I can make Al Green an honorary member of the Communist Party, which he already is. And Jeff, let me tell you something. For them not to stand for that little boy, that brave little boy who's got more cojones and backbone than most of these coward-ass liberals who stand for Ukraine, Jeff. I stand for the people of Ukraine, not the frickin' Vladimir Zelensky's out there who's nothing but a dictator. And yes, I said it. He's a dictator. Okay, Jeff? The truth needs to be told, buddy. The Democrats are nothing but satanic, Damien, evil. Jeff, they make the devil cringe. That's how evil these people.
Which is the low end. And I believe I'm telling you, 75 to 80% of the country backs them on Ukraine. But I'm just going by the polls. 67% say that Trump is taking the exact right approach to Ukraine. So, Dave, what is wrong with the Democratic Party? They read polls. They can read the writing on the wall. Issue after issue after issue. Trump is infinitely popular. His policies, his ideas are popular. 2/3 to 80% support. Dave, are the Democrats essentially now committing suicide? Is this now really, they've now become the kamikaze party in the United States, where they are hell-bent on destroying themselves? And after last night with that boy, and how they wouldn't even clap for a boy with 13-year-old boy with brain cancer, are they determined to destroy themselves? What say you, Dave?
If they don't watch it, Jeff, there's going to be more Republicans in the House and the Senate come this midterm. And usually, especially in the second term, well, not to enroll for Trump 45, 47, we had a brain-dead moron in between and Joe Biden. But Jeff, I'm going to tell you, they're going to lose more seats. We're going to have an insurmountable lead on the conservative side. There's going to be rhinos in there too, Jeff. But Jeff, if they're not careful, it's going to take a generation for the Democrats to come back. It's good, Jeff. I'm going to quote you on this. Remember in '94 when Newt Gingrich led the contract with America?
Yes.
A little bit of history for these brain dead communists. Of course, they're not learning that in school, right? Jeff, it's going to take more than that. It's going to take a political tsunami for these commies to come back to power, Jeff. And that's what they are. Democrats, Al Green, you're nothing but a bunch of gutless punks.
Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, as always, thank you for that call, my friend. John in Malden. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Morning.
John, how are you?
Sir? Good. Hey, some things to mention. Other than, cancer, that kid, I feel bad for him. And he's fighting through. both my parents went through back-to-back with cancer, colon and breast. Now, the thing was is that when the Democrats were sitting there, they had these little signs holding up Musk stills, and then and something else on the back of the signs too, on some of them. And also, what he was going to say that he mentioned a young guy. He wants to go to West Point, and he wasn't accepted yet. And then he mentioned to the kid, "You've been accepted to West Point." That was nice. I'm telling you, this speech was the first speech which was nice. That I didn't have to listen to cow flaps coming out of someone's mouth. And he mentioned of how he ended up doing all these executive orders and everything else. And how many days he's been in office? And what did Joe Biden do? Nothing.
Well, John, I thought that was, I agree with you. I thought that was one of the most powerful lines. He had many really, really powerful lines, really strong lines. But I thought one of the most powerful was when he said, and he was right. That's the thing. See, a line is very powerful if it's backed up by truth. If it's the truth and you know it's the truth, then it's not just empty rhetoric. So when he said we've done more in 43 days than most presidents have done in 4 years, or some presidents have done in 8 years, it's true. It's true. I'm not a big fan of Speaker Mike Johnson, Mini Mike, as I like to call him now. I used to call him MAGA Mike. Now he's Mini Mike. So I'm not a big fan of Mini Mike, but I have to give, him his due. Before Trump delivered his speech, Johnson gave an interview and he said, look, the whole speech, if Trump wants, all he can do is just stand up there and list all of his executive orders. He goes, it'll take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, that's it. Like, okay, here's what I accomplished. Let's go. Everybody start listening. 1, 2, 3. And just go down executive order after executive order after executive order. He goes, I'm telling you, the whole country's going to say, wow. So, I agree with you, John, completely. Look, that was another one. I couldn't believe it. Here's a kid, great GPA, student athlete, pillar of his community. Even when you see him, I mean, he's got a face, the Italians say, like, the expression like bread. Okay? Beautiful, wholesome young man. And his mother is beside him, and he says, he maybe wants to go into law enforcement, but he thinks maybe the military is his calling first. And his dream is to get into West Point. It's very hard to get into West Point. You can have very good grades, have a very impressive CV and resume, to be able to apply for your application. And guess what? I got news for you. You just got accepted. And he's so excited. His mother is crying. He's hugging everybody. DJ Daniel, the poor 13-year-old boy with brain cancer, is so excited for him too. He gives him a high five. Now, here's a young, patriotic American who is saying, I want to serve my country. I want to go to West Point and serve our nation and serve our country. You think the Democrats would applaud that? That's good? No. Nope. I'm telling you, that's what I found stunning. And at first I thought, are they just so politically tone deaf? And I said, no, I'm telling you, nobody's that stupid. And then what I realized is Trump has smoked them out. To his eternal credit, he has flushed out who the Democrats really are. This is who they really are. They hate Americans and they hate America. And that's what was on full display last night. And again, I don't want to keep repeating this, but it bears repeating. Look at the speech again. Don't take my word for it. The only time they cheered, one time they clapped and cheered, was when Trump mentioned that we had been giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. You mention hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, and they're, yeah. That's it. That's it. As Elon said on X, the only time they cheered was for another country. That's right. That's right. You're completely right, Mike. Mike is saying in my ear, he goes, Jeff, you think they would cheer the West Point kid? Why? Because the Democrats keep saying you want a hot war with Russia. Let's fight the Ruskies. Let's go. World War III. Well, if you're going to fight World War III, you're going to need all the soldiers you can get. You're going to need all these West Point grads that you can get. But no, it's only Ukraine. And then when Trump said he got that letter from Zelensky, in which Zelensky said, I'm ready now to make peace. Donald, I reconsider. After Trump cut off all that military aid, suddenly it's a different story. I signed deal, Donald. I regret what I did. Donald, I'm sorry. I had too much vodka on empty stomach. Yeah, I was not in the right frame of mind. I'm sorry, Donald. No. Donald, I come back. I signed mineral deal. Yes, I signed. And I want peace. I want peace, Donald. So Zelensky now wrote him a letter. He read from the letter saying, I'm going to sign the mineral deal. I want to go back to the negotiating table. Ukraine and Ukrainians want peace. From the Democratic side, you could hear a pin drop. Then they weren't clapping for Ukraine. So you see, if you stop the bloodletting and the slaughter, then they're not happy. They showed us who they are. And I'm telling you, it was an ugly, ugly sight. And I think it's going to be something that's going to take people a long time to forget. But that's just my opinion. John in Lowell. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Jeff, truly, not to make this about me, but I've shared bad news with you guys about my health. So I'm going to share some good news. They got the tumors knocked down in half. So.
Oh, that's great, John. That's wonderful.
Yeah, Jeff, I take every day as a victory, literally, no matter what. So, Jeff, listen, this is how good Trump is. He has people that hate him doing exactly what he wants. He wants government workers going back to work, right? He's got these guys digging holes, Jeff. And every day they're digging deeper, harder, and faster. It's playing right into his hand. It is one of the most hysterical things I've ever seen, Jeff. Now, Jeff, I have to know something because I didn't watch it. Did they all have pink dresses on?
Some did. Some members of Congress had pink dresses. Others had pink outfits. Not all of them, but some of the female Democrat members of Congress to show women, unity with women's rights, because apparently Trump is trampling on women's rights. While I swear to you, John, just the night before, all of the Democrats voted against preventing men from competing in women's sports. So they're betraying women's rights and girls, but they're wearing pink. 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. My friends, it's Wednesday. It's 7:20. You know what time it is? It's time for Truth or Troll. Okay, my friends, I am very, very excited to announce a new segment.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will.
So by any means necessary, one way or the other. What do you think?
My friend. So, Mike is asking the question, and this is the Kuhner Country, question of the day, truth or troll. Do you think Trump is serious? Is it truth? Does he really want to get Greenland by any means necessary? Or do you think he's just trying to make, rile Democrats up and troll them and get under their skin and, have a little bit of fun at their expense? I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage. Go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, truth or troll, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. We can also vote via X, my handle there, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in national ER. And as always, the poll question is brought to you by Mario's. Mario's siding, roofing, and windows. Okay, my friends. Paula in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Paula, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. As I'm listening to everybody, I'm making a list here about what I saw last night with Trump. First of all, when he acknowledges his guests, that's the human side of Trump. And that little boy who's got cancer, the Democrats, I'm surprised they didn't hold up their little paper plates, as the party. The kids do at parties, they hold up these little paper plates, having a great time. As far as women's rights, forget about it. The Democrats, and I called Jean Shaheen's office yesterday.
Watch on iHeartRadio's YouTube channel and listen on the iHeart app.
Monday night at 11.
2 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quick. The Democrats are in trouble. I'm telling you, they're in big trouble. CBS instant poll of Trump's speech. Listen to this. And then remember, this is the fake news. They oversample Democrats. Their goal is to try to portray Trump in the most negative light possible. So if they're giving us these numbers, what do you think the real numbers are? That's why it's 80-20. I'm telling you, we're becoming now an 80-20 country. CBS instant poll of Trump's speech. 76% approve, 23% disapprove. CNN instant poll of Trump's speech. 69% positive, 31% negative. The Democrats have a problem. I mean, they've got a massive problem. This is from, by the way, you can text the Kuhner Man again, 70470. This is from 917. Jeff, how did we go from Trump is going to start World War III to now being angry that Trump is trying to stop World War III from happening? Brilliant. And that was Chief Fullable. That was Chief Spreading Bull last night. That was another incredibly revealing moment where it's not just that the only time they cheered, the Democrats, by the way, do you see all of them with their blue and yellow ties and their blue and yellow scarves and, none of them with an American lapel or something, a pin or American flag on their lapel. No. Ukrainian colors. He mentions Ukraine, the hundreds of billions of dollars sent to Ukraine. Oh, that's the only time they cheer. But then, dead silence when he reads the letter he received from Zelensky after Trump cut off the aid. Tough guy Zelensky, now he's not so tough. Now he's groveling, literally groveling. I want peace. So he writes the letter saying, I'm going to sign the minerals deal. It's done. I want a seat at the table. I want to end the war. I want peace. Ukrainians want peace. We want a negotiated peace settlement. And all of a sudden, the Democrats aren't clapping anymore. And then Trump looks around and he sees Pocahontas. He sees Chief Fullable. And he says to her, so how long do you want to keep this thing? 749 thing in them that was always there. And now they can't contain themselves anymore. And what they're now showing of who they are to the American people is something so dark, so disgusting, so sick, so twisted. This is borderline pathological. I'm telling MSNBC after this is finished. They're finished. The Democrats after last night are in big, big, big trouble. So all I'm telling you is what you're watching is not just the rise of MAGA and the rise of Trump as a political titan and a political colossus. But what you're seeing now is the slow, painful death of the old order, the slow, painful death of globalism, and the slow, painful death of the Democrat Party. I mean, this is sickening. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Betty in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Betty, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Great. How are you, Betty?
Good. Jeff, Trump's speech was off the charts last night. I mean, how unbelievable in true Trump fashion and style. I mean, this guy, he just displayed the American love and passion and patriot he is. And I love having him back as our commander-in-chief. It's so refreshing. But, to that point, I want to say, I don't know how these people get in to represent America. Jeff, these people are rancid. How do they get a seat at the table? I mean, they are sick, Jeff. I want to say these people are the cancer, and they're spreading and spewing their toxicity against America. They're so comfortable playing the victim. That's what it is. I think they see themselves as the victim, that they can't stand for this little boy. I mean, I think everybody in America, everybody in the world had tears in their eyes. There's something really sick. There is. And I don't know if there's enough medicine to cure this, but I'll tell you what, Trump is gonna find that cure, the cure to get these nut jobs, these just anti-Americans. He is going to find the cure to get them out of Congress, out of politics, out of government in the United States of America. And Jeff, they are so scared. That's all they have is just to sit there in defiance and whatever. I mean, who can't stand for a little boy? I mean, with cancer, the girls in the sports. I mean, these are things that aren't these like your daughters, like your nieces, your nephews, your sons? Like, I mean, it's so inhumane. I mean, Jeff.
All the way. The Democrats, I thought they had a disastrous night, a night that will haunt them potentially for years to come. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome. Sorry, is this Elizabeth Warren? I thought, is this Pocahontas? Did he manage to make contact with you? I thought we had Bruce on the line.
How about Pelosi? How about Pelosi gnawing on her thing? You know why, Jeff? You know why she was gnawing on her cane? Because she couldn't get a hold of his speech to tear it up. And did Trump have a teleprompter in front of him and slurring his words and forgetting and mispronouncing words and all this crap that we've been dealing with for the last 4 freaking years, Jeff? So you were talking about you don't know anybody that got murdered.
No, I personally, no, I don't. I mean, I know, how do I say this? Because I've made so many contacts through the show and listeners and through them. But I mean, in terms of my private circle, my personal circle of, friends, family members, no. But Bruce, let's just take, cancer, right? That was Larry and Lemonster's point. That's why this story with the child, the 13-year-old boy with brain cancer. And Bruce, I just saw it again. We have all these TV screens, in the iHeart studio. I mean, it's so heartwarming. It really is. I just saw it again with his beautiful cheeks and the surprise on his face when the Secret Service agent gives him the Secret Service badge. and the boy is holding the badge and he's showing it to everybody. And then he tells the Secret Service agent, "This is my dream come true." You can read his lips. "It's my dream come true." And then he hugs the Secret Service agent, and then he hugs him back. And the father is so proud, and he's lifting his boy again. I mean, seriously, you got to be a monster not to have this pull at your heartstrings and not stand up and clap and just cheer this boy on. DJ, the Democrat reaction was inhuman. It was cold. It was callous. It was wicked. Frankly, it was disgusting. But no, speaking of cancer, I mean, my mother died of cancer. My mother-in-law died of cancer. I can't tell you how many, my dear friend, my best friend, my mentor died of lung cancer. So cancer has touched me, my family, my personal circle in a way that, say, a murder hasn't. And I agree with Larry. I think that's why this story of the Democrats being so cruel to that boy with cancer, that story is not going to go away. That image is not going to go away because so many of us have family members or friends or people we know who either have had cancer or died from cancer. Bruce, am I wrong?
No, Jeff, you're exactly right. Matter of fact, the last time I talked to you, I just buried my friend who died of cancer. My sister was a stage 4 cancer survivor. They told her she was going to die. But I'm just going to name off a couple of people that I know that were murdered. Navy SEAL Doherty from Winchester. I knew him. Crystal Campbell was killed at the Marathon bombing, meaning the Navy SEAL Doherty, that's Obama and Hillary, they killed him.
No, I'm with you. No, and Bruce, again, I hear you. I hear you. And Bruce, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. But I think Larry's point, that's, his overall point is that story with DJ Daniel, that story with that boy. Look, I've been doing this show for how long now? Right? Way over 10 years now. Okay. What is it? 13 years on the air and, God willing, 13 more. I can't tell you how many texts. I don't think I've ever gotten this many texts on that boy. I mean, people are just livid. They go, this is inhuman. This is unconscionable. And so, because he's such an innocent boy. And look at the heart he's shown fighting brain cancer for 7 years. And he wants to be a police officer, and his dream is to be a Secret Service agent, and they give him the badge, and the kid is so happy, and the father is so proud, and he's holding his son up, and the boy is waving to everybody with tears in his eyes. Come on. You don't clap for that? I don't know what to say. Really, they are lizard people. I'm telling you, the Democrats are lizard people. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Yes, Jeff, I totally agree. I've talked to a lot of people that have lost people, and, with my experience with Sudden, but to hear people talk, come to me and talk to me about losing somebody so close, and
Dan, I'm up against the break, Dan. Please hang on. I'm going to come right back to Dan. I think that's the point. People have lost. Everyone knows someone who's died or had cancer. That's why this story is sticking with people like nothing else. 32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Trump lays down one of the most important speeches in my lifetime. An incredible speech in front of a joint session of Congress, throws down the gauntlet, laying out a blueprint for the next 4 years of his presidency, and now telling the country he's going to double down on his agenda on drilling, on tariffs, on the border, on deportations, on tax cuts, on ending the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukrainians. That, in other words, Trump now wants to give even more support to Doge. He wants to weed out even more waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, he says we're going to do something we haven't done in nearly 25 years. Balance the budget. My question to you, did you see his speech? What did you make of it? Did you like it, not like it? And the Democrats' total all-out resistance. Their childish, at times, cold-hearted behavior. Will it cost them with the public? Are the Democrats now going to get even lower approval ratings? Did they cut their own political throat last night? Let's go right back to Dan in New Hampshire. Dan, obviously, we're all still talking about DJ Daniel, that poor 13-year-old boy battling brain cancer, and how the Democrats couldn't even stand up and applaud for him. Please, Dan, pick up where you left off.
Well, we've all lost loved ones. My experience was sudden, Jeff. It was over 23 years ago, and the thing is that through the years I've had people suffering with losing somebody, and they've come to talk to me about it, and it's just to see somebody lose somebody slowly and that way is just so much more devastating to me. It's never easy to talk about, but I always do because I want to help every American I can. I mean, even I paid for the people that died, the soldiers that died at the gate in Afghanistan. It's unbelievable. They don't care. These people are sick in their minds, in their souls. They don't have one. Jeff, the Tulsi Gabbard, Van Drew, Robert Kennedy Democrats, these moderate Democrats have abandoned them because these moderate Democrats have flocked to Trump. And the thing is here is when you look at Van Drew, his voting grades is an 80 and a 90 in consecutive years. It's a great voting record. I'll take every Democrat that did that, but there's none left. When you look at the U.S. Senate, Socialist Communist Party's voting grade is a 15, and there's one that has a 20, and this goes to the U.S. Congress as well. The rest are 0 to 15. They're Marxist. The previous guy, Yukonovich, okay, the guy that was before Zelensky. And it was a phone call between Victoria Nuland and U.S. Ambassador of Ukraine, Jeffrey Pyatt. They talked about regime change and who's going to be installed next.
That's
and
right.
Changed the life.
No, you're dead on. Dan, you're completely correct. You're completely correct. In fact, the phone call was intercepted. The Russians actually intercepted the phone call. And you can hear it on the internet. So Obama ordered Victoria Nuland to organize a coup against Yanukovych, who was the democratically elected president of Ukraine. Now, he was pro-Russian, but that's what the Ukrainian people voted for. And they literally, the State Department, the CIA, led by Victoria Nuland and Lindsey Graham and John McCain and Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and Obama and Biden, that was the cabal, orchestrated a overthrow of a democratically elected government. And that's what unleashed all hell in Ukraine. From that moment on, it's been completely unstable. So they impeached Trump over nothing. And yet Obama and Biden and others committed the most monstrous crimes imaginable. And no one holds them accountable. That's what I find incredible. And it's what we're seeing today in Ukraine is a direct result of what Obama, Biden, and our CIA did. Dan, you're completely right. And so that's why I want to see justice done. I want to see these people held accountable for what they've done to us, what they've done to Ukraine, what they've done to the Russians and to the Ukrainians, what they've done to the world. Dan, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. And look, you said it. These are Marxist communists. That's, and by the way, they're anti-American traitors. I think now it's very clear. Trump said, let's put Americans on Mars. They didn't clap. Let's create the most successful, booming economy in the history of the world. They didn't clap. Let's balance the budget. They didn't clap. Let's secure our border and end this border invasion. They didn't clap. Let's end inflation for the besieged, impoverished middle working class. They didn't clap. Let's end the possibility of World War III, for God's sake, between Russia and Ukraine. They didn't clap. So, let's end the outsourcing of all of our jobs and manufacturing to China and to Mexico and to countries all over the world. They didn't clap. So everything that was good for America, that you would think, well, yeah, that's what we want, they didn't clap. The only time they clap, as I said, is when they mentioned Ukraine and the billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that Biden sent to Ukraine. That's it. So the only time they clap is for another country and when we're sending them billions and billions of dollars in a senseless slaughter that could literally lead to nuclear Armageddon. Now, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, honestly, I don't know what will. And to show you how despicable these Democrats are, okay, it's not just that they're a bunch of liars. I want you to hear now how lazy they are. So, before Trump's speech, the 22 Democrats and counting, listen to this, they released a tape, okay, or a video, forgive me, a video. They released a video, and it was Chuck Schumer. It was Elizabeth Warren, Chief Spreading Bull. It was Cory Booker, but it goes on, in which they're acting like it's coming from them. That this is, authentic, their words, because they're so outraged at President Trump and what he's going to be saying last night that they just have to go on the record before he says it. And it turns out they were all reading from the same script, word for word for word. It wasn't their words. It was someone else's words. And not only that, it was full of obscenities and curse words. You want to see how fake the Democrats are? You want to see what a bunch of plagiarists the Democrats are? You want to see what a bunch of liars and how lazy the Democrats are? What, you can't do your own 60-second video? Someone else has to write it for you and pass it along to every senator? And you're all so stupid that you're acting like, okay, this is something I need to say. This is coming from me now. This is my voice. Roll cut 33, Mike.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of gross gas, housing, eggs, of essentials, it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
All of them. Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, word for word for word. And, they think swearing makes them sound edgy and so cool. No, it makes them seem what they are. Vulgar, crass, low class, like the way they behaved last night. Punks, children, honestly, idiots. So, and by the way, Elon Musk went on X. I don't know if you saw it. I was cracking up last night and said that he's now going to give someone a free Cybertruck. Anyone who can locate the person that wrote that speech or that 60-second video spot, that script, you get a free Cybertruck if you can locate or identify the person that wrote that 60-second script that all of these Democrat senators read from. You phonies, you frauds, you. My friends, Trump killed it last night. Not just because the speech was so good, because he crushed the Democrats, and he crushed them good. 50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bob in Wakefield. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome. Hello, Bob. All right, let's see if we can reconnect with Bob. Who do you want me to go to next, Mike? Tony in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, my fellow patriot. What a home run President Trump gave last night. We were so excited to see that speech and everything that he announced. But let me just go on the flip side of that. I need to vent about this, Jeff. As you know, I'm never politically correct, and I never will be. Let's go through this small list I just put together of these people that he announced. The Russian prisoner and his mother, 95 years old, Laken Riley's mother and sisters. She was brutally murdered by an illegal alien. Jocelyn Ungary's mother, the daughter, brutally murdered by an illegal alien. And President Trump dedicated a sanctuary where they have the wildlife because her daughter loved the wildlife and the animals. The girl that played volleyball that got her head smashed in by a man playing women's sports in a volleyball game.
Peyton, her name, Tony, you're on a roll, but just her name was Peyton McNabb. Just that, Peyton McNabb.
Peyton McNabb, thank you. Peyton McNabb. Sorry about the name, I forgot.
No, it's okay.
Peyton McNabb. Yep, and the 13-year-old boy that battled brain cancer, who just proudly was honored by the Houston police with the police officer's uniform and also the Secret Service credential that he was given, and the boy was so excited. It brought you to tears. Corey Compatore's wife and kids, what a beautiful family he has. He took a bullet for his wife during that awful day in Butler, Pennsylvania in July of 24, during that rally, the beginning of that rally, when President Trump almost lost his life. The mastermind of the Abbey Gate of the debacle in Afghanistan, we are bringing the mastermind to justice, okay? And at the same time, you're looking at these Democrats sitting there. Not one of them stood up and clapped for any of these people that I just mentioned, okay, in any of these situations. And it not only is it a complete disgrace, but these people and all their supporters, I'll announce it right now, are pure evil. Every damn one of them, every morsel of their body, they're pure evil. To not stand up and applaud these amazing, beautiful people, these beautiful American people. These Democrats are pure evil. They're anti-American, and we're going to put them right into extinction. Let's look at Mayor Wu of Boston, Maura Healey, Ed Markey, Warren, Presley. We're originally from Massachusetts. These people are representing that state. They should be put into extinction and voted out of political life. And you know what? We need to send them packing with the illegals, and they need to be deported. They're a disgrace representing that state in that way. They're an absolute disgrace, along with all of them in that sitting in there in that swamp. What a disgrace they are. They're pure evil, every one of them, and all their supporters. If any of them are listening to your show, they're all evil, every one of them. Look at yourself in the mirror.
Oh, I so agree. Amen. Honestly, Tony, drop the mic. And, just to add the cherry to your Sunday, and it's a beautiful Sunday, which you've laid out, they cheer for a career criminal. They eulogize. They kneel. They deify. They celebrate a career criminal who died while he was being arrested, i.e. George Floyd. Just to show you the contrast to everything you've laid out. So, a mother and a sister grieving a 22-year-old young woman, a student at Georgia, Laken Riley, savagely murdered by an illegal alien that should never have been in our country. Nothing. An American who was rotting in a Russian gulag that Trump helped rescue because his 95-year-old mother pleaded with him half an hour before he was almost assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. You think, well, you hate the Ruskies so much, you hate Putin so much, you hate Russia so much. Well, Trump got this guy back. No, they wouldn't even, Mark Fogel, they wouldn't even clap for him. I mean, ay. And then, to me, Joycelyn Nungare, how you don't cry, how you don't stand, how you don't clap, how you don't show respect to the mother of an 11-year-old girl who was brutally raped by two, not one, two Tren de Aragua gangbanging thugs and then viciously dismembered and murdered. You're sick, man. I'm sorry, you're sick. You're sick. To all the moonbats listening, I'm telling you to your face, you're sick. And Elizabeth Warren, Chief Fullable, is literally sitting on her hands, and like tisk tisk, like I can't be bothered with this. But then when Trump says, so you want to keep the war in Ukraine going for another 5 years? Millions more dead? Ukrainians dead? Russians dead? Men, women, children dead? More cities destroyed? You bet I do. Right under her breath, you can see her mouth. You bet I do. That gets her juices flowing. Then she's all hot. Then that's what she likes. Listen, I'm telling you, what we saw last night, when you've seen something, you can't unsee it. There's an old expression, and I love it. When someone shows you who they are, believe it. The Democrats last night showed us who they are. They are evil, they are anti-American, and they are abhorrent. I'm sorry, they're obscene and disgusting. And I'm sorry, DJ Daniel, that 13-year-old boy, and I'm just thinking, he's a year older than my Ava. He's a year younger than my Ashton. You know what a nightmare? It's every parent's nightmare. I don't know how that father and the mother do it. And their boy has been battling brain cancer since he was 6 years old. And the kid has fought bravely for 7 years. And he's telling his daddy, when I grow up, I want to be law enforcement. I want to be a police officer, daddy. But my real dream is to be Secret Service. And President Trump says, I don't want to say anything about the boy. I hope he survives. I hope he lives a long life. Okay? But Trump and the father spoke, and Trump said, you know what? We're going to make his dream happen now. Okay? We're going to make it happen now. And the head of the Secret Service gives him a badge. And Trump says, I want you to know, DJ, you are now a member of the Secret Service. And it was like Christmas. And the boy's eyes lit up and his face lit up. He starts to cry tears of joy. His father's crying tears of joy. And you can read his lips. He's telling the Secret Service agent, you've made my dream come true. Thank you. You've made my dream come true. And he can't help himself. He's so overwhelmed with emotion. He just hugs the Secret Service agent. And, these guys are big guys. They're big guys. And you can see the Secret Service, his heart is melting. They can see the agent. His heart's melting. He has to hug him back. And he's hugging him tight like, oh, God, I feel so sorry for this kid. And then the father lifts him up. This is my boy. He's battling brain cancer. He's a fighter. Look, he wants to be a Secret Service agent. And you don't stand up and clap for that? F you. I'm sorry. Somebody has to say it. Blank you. Blank you. There's nothing else to say. Some things in life are that clear. Either you see it or you don't. That's it. And I'm telling you the truth. They're so overwhelmed. They're so obsessed with their pathological hatred for Donald Trump. That's what this is. They're so inundated with hate, so filled with hate, that they don't realize or they don't see how vicious, how nasty, how evil, how obscene, how unconscionable they come across to the rest of the country. I don't know what else to tell you, honestly. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Dr. Grace is warming up in the bullpen. We're going to try to get her on, obviously, to do her weekly hit here. But let me see if I can squeeze one more call in before she does. Ellie in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Ellie, and welcome.
Is on Ukraine. I thought there was a huge missed opportunity there to look at the American people and give us all the alternative explanation of what happened in Ukraine. Because all we heard for 4 years was Biden's version. And the media has the Ukrainian version, the European version. We have not heard fully, from beginning to end, the alternative version of what happened in Ukraine. All we hear is that Putin was the aggressor. We don't hear enough how it all went down from the opposite point of view, how Biden and Zelensky provoked the Russians and how they, to some extent, were the aggressors. I thought he missed an opportunity to say that. And the one moment I wanted him to be jingoistic was on Zelensky. When he came to the White House and disrespected me and the American people, I sent him packing. I would have loved that. So for me, that was a big missed opportunity. I don't think that was right now the moment to talk about Greenland, the Panama Canal. These are all sidebar. So I would have cut all that out, and I would have focused on that. I also thought he shouldn't be celebrating the cabinet. It's too soon. We don't care about all the individual cabinet members, yada, yada, yada. That was too much. So I would have focused on that. The other big area that I wanted him to really dig in on, because we need answers to this, it's the economy. It's inflation. I know he spoke about what he wants to do, a lot of good ideas that he put forward. But this tariff war that he's in, the media is dominating the conversation on it. I thought he needed to really dig down, and especially when he said there's going to be more disturbance to come. I can tell you this, as a voter, I didn't vote for more disturbance. I didn't vote for more high prices. I didn't vote not to know how much longer we have to wait. Now, I know none of it is his fault. I know he's doing his best. I know he's been amazing. But this was a moment for him to stand up there and say, this is what I'm doing on tariffs. This is the pain that it will cause. Also, I was hoping for some more immediate relief. I think that's the part that there's a little bit of a disconnect there between Trump and MAGA. The families right now, we need immediate relief. I know he's doing his best, but to hear the words, more pain, more disturbance, I mean, honestly, you know, our energy prices are literally through the roof. I know he's doing his best, but when I'm hearing, and there's going to be more pain, you know, before we get to the good stuff, I just wish he would have stood there and explained that. We need an explanation of totally his vision. And then, really, if you listen carefully to his speech, he's basically telling the whole world that America is broke. We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't pay for anything, so we are broke. So my question is, okay, you're broke, we're broke, which is not his fault, but how are you going to be the big peacemaker as a country now that doesn't have the tools that we had before? So when you say there's a new world order, yes, there's a new world order. What is the foreign policy vision? It's America alone. America is confronting a lot of countries alone. Who are our allies? Who are we doing this with? Who are our friends? I don't think his foreign policy vision was fleshed out enough. I know we need to retrench. I'm a total believer that it's America first and we got to retrench. But if you're going to create a whole new world order, we are the superpower. Explain it. Flush it out a bit more. So I thought there was a couple of fluff that could have been eliminated for more substantive moments that he could have had to explain things to people like me.
Well, look, let me just ask you this then, point blank. The Democrats and their behavior, do they now come across as the party of hate and insanity? They wouldn't even clap for a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer. They wouldn't even clap for the mothers who lost their children to savage, criminal, illegal aliens?
Jeff, look, last night Donald Trump exposed them as pathetic, as weak, as bankrupt, and as totally finished. He basically was a giant refutation of them, and they have no path forward. He is now the dominant leader of his party, of this country, of the joint sessions, and they have no answer. They have no path. They have no strategy. They don't even have a clear ideology. He took feminism from them, Jeff. He took liberty from them as the two primary causes. He is the one defending free speech. I thought they were the ones who were supposed to defend freedom. They abandoned that with their censorship ideology, that they went down that dark road. And feminism, they cannot understand how upsetting it is that you have this story, this really powerful story of a male athlete smashing a girl's head. They don't get that. And parental rights. He sees the mantle on all that. In terms of the culture, he's where America is, and the Democrats have no answer. They are adrift. That's the only way to describe it. They are adrift. Unless they do an immediate course correction, they're going to drift off into the abyss. That's what I saw last night.
Grace, we've literally got less than a minute. Do you get the sense now that Trump is in the driver's seat, that he's now going to be setting the tone, the momentum, the agenda, really now for the rest, at least the next 2 years?
Yes, that's what he is so dominant. That's what really struck me. When you think how many conversations we had before, which is a great tribute to MAGA, that he's not only there as president, but unlike the first term, he's not there as president with all of the knives out for him, even within his own party. He is clearly in command. He is the one that is calling the shots every step of the way. And you see that he has the team that he wants.
Like you say, when does he sleep, God? I don't know how he does it. But the thing that disgusts me the most, and this is really, liberalism is most definitely a mental disorder. But we know what the mental disorder is now. Trump derangement syndrome. It has to be. These people are crazy. They're literally crazy. They belong in a home. For liberals, just let me explain something to you. For you to pick George Soros and Hillary Clinton as the the Medal of Freedom winners, was it? Is that what it was?
Yes, yes.
That tells you everything you need to know about the Liberal Party. I'm not lumping them in with Democrats no more. Because I believe some Democrats are on the Trump's page. I really do.
Well, you're dead on, Scott. Well, look, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're serving in his cabinet in some of the most high-profile positions. So you're right. There were a lot of, sane Democrats, and they've come over now to our side. But, Scott, look, I want to double back to what you said. Okay, Hillary, we know. I mean, Hillary speaks for herself. But just take George Soros. Okay? Now, this is according to his own admission. This is what he's admitted to. He's Jewish by his own admission. Not that I care, but it's important to the story. So he's Jewish. And he says, oh, yeah, no. When the Nazis invaded Hungary, I personally went with the Nazis and the SS. And I told them, this house full of Jews. This house full of Jews. This house full of Jews. And it was on 60 Minutes, and I believe it was Steve Kroft, the interviewer. And he says, but don't you feel guilty? I mean, didn't you know they were all going to be rounded up into cattle cars and sent to the death camps, to Auschwitz and Buchenwald? And he goes, oh, yeah. I knew they were all going to be massacred and killed and exterminated. He goes, but I had to survive, so I don't feel guilty. So you send your own people to the gas ovens, literally, Scott, by the thousands, and you sleep well at night? You're like, yeah, fine, no problem. And this is the sugar daddy of the Democratic Party? This is the guy they're giving the Congressional Medal of Freedom to? This is the guy the Democrats revere and say is one of the greatest philanthropists and humanitarians of our time? Scott, I mean, it's, again, that's what we saw last night. Evil and insane. Scott, final word to you.
Hey, congratulations to the newest Secret Service member of the United States.
Scott, I love you in a non-sexual way, my friend. You know what? That's a really nice, we really should congratulate DJ. Really, for being a member of the Secret Service. That smile, I mean, honestly, that smile, I had tears in my eyes when I saw that boy last night. 617-266-6868. Okay. What was the line of the night? What was the point of the night? Tune in next. 9:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. To me, you obviously may disagree. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. To me, the line of the night, and I think maybe the overall best point of the night. I mean, there were so many good points that Trump made, but I think this was maybe the best the best one of all of them. Roll cut 5, Mike.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Game, set, match. Remember how the Democrats and the rhinos and the media kept saying, oh, you got to sign this comprehensive border security bill, this comprehensive immigration reform bill. That's the only way to secure the border. You remember all that garbage, all that nonsense? And now that Trump is president, 42, 43 days? Border crossings down, listen to this, 96%. 96%. We have the lowest crossings now, border crossings since, over 50, almost 60 years. No, we didn't need a new bill. We needed a new president. It was obvious. The media lied, Biden lied, the rhinos lied, Democrats lied. 617-266-6868. And that's already one of his Herculean achievements and accomplishments. What he's done in stopping the invasion, in securing the border, and now beginning to deport violent criminal illegals. And as Trump said last night, it's going to be the biggest in American history. It's going to be even bigger than the mass deportation undertaken by Dwight D. Eisenhower. Anne in Franklin. Thanks for holding, Anne, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Anne.
I thought that was a very good line, but my favorite point was when he called out Pocahontas. Okay? Because she didn't like something. He said even Pocahontas, doesn't agrees or something, and she, the look on her face, like the deer in the headlights, and what he should have done was follow up and ask her why she voted against the men and women's sports, and explain it to that young girl in the balcony.
Anne, let me play you the cut. Let me play you the cut. Please hang on. Because I agree with you. That was a very, very vivid, very powerful moment. So he was talking about ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. And he says there's been millions dead and wounded, maimed. He says it's time to end this slaughterhouse and this bloodshed. And then he says, we've been sending hundreds and hundreds of billions to Ukraine, And what has it given us? More death and destruction. And then he says, and you want to keep this thing going for many more years, 5 years? And Warren, Chief Fullable, you can read her lips, says, yes, you bet I do. And Trump caught that. And that's when he called her out. Roll cut 6, Mike.
But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that.
And I got to tell you, I think he crushed her. He exposed her for the warmonger that she is. He exposed her for the sociopath that she is. He exposed her for the liar and the fraud that she is. And am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but I would have liked to have seen him push her a little bit further. That poor girl with the head injuries that will be maimed for life, let her explain to her why she doesn't care.
Oh, I agree. And I'm just curious. I'm getting a lot of texts from the listeners saying that Trump had a really good performance last night. But the Democrats' disgusting, obscene behavior.
Oh, absolutely. He has changed so much since he got shot. Okay, he has changed so much he's focused, but I wish he hadn't mentioned Biden so much. Biden's in his head too much. He's gone. It's over with. Let it go. Okay?
Interesting. And thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Skippy in South Boston. Thanks for holding, Skippy, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff. Jeff, I didn't watch last night, but I was listening to this morning, Gigi's description of how they, disrespected those folks that were suffering, and the president was just calling up, show some empathy. I don't know if you recall, 10 years ago, we were having a conversation. This is when the Democrats are just starting to go on the deranged side. And I said they should change their name to the 3D Party, which would be the deranged demonic degenerates. It seems kind of funny, but the point is, I think that's where they are now. They're top of the chart as being deranged. And we don't follow the demonic. We're not with Satan. Well, no, Satan doesn't show up. Lobbyists show up. That's who you sell your soul to. They are so compromised. That's why they didn't recognize those people, because those folks that the daughters were killed by the illegal aliens, because they took part in it by their politics. So they did, by showing empathy, and their party would be kicked them out if they stepped out of line, out of lockstep with what they did. So they can't show any compassion because they're compromised. And Jeff, that's the sad part, because that deranged, demonic, degenerate agenda they have knows no bounds, but they know they're going down. That's why they're putting on all these antics. They're on their way out. My only thing is today, here it is Lent, beginning of Lent. I hope any normal Democrat that's out there, give up being a Democrat for Lent, then make it for life. You don't have to become a Republican. Become an independent, because they're going down. They know they're on their way out.
Well, Skippy, that's what the polls are showing. I mean, just exactly, almost to a T, what you're saying now. Look, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but this is the big takeaway from last night. What Trump has now done, both with his election and especially now with his, 3 days in office. I go back to my doctor. I told that story a couple of weeks ago. Diehard Democrat. Voted against Trump in 2016, voted for Hillary, voted for Biden in 2020, voted for Kamala in 2024. And after the first month or whatever it is, 3-4 weeks of Trump in office, he said, my God, I was wrong. He goes, I'm telling you, the guy, I've never seen a first month like this. And I realized everything the Democrats told me was a lie. And I asked him, I said, if you could go back in time, in a time machine, would you change your vote to Trump? He goes, absolutely. So, and he says, this is what he told me, he goes, I'm leaving the Democratic Party, I'm becoming an independent, and I'm a Trump supporter now. So my point being, you look at Trump's approval numbers, it's 70-30. I think it's even higher than that. If you look at the specific issues, it's 80-20. As I said, the lowest is the Ukraine issue, which is 67% in favor of Trump. I think it's higher, but I'm just these are all polls by CBS, CNN, New York Times, NBC News. So you know they're overrepresenting or oversampling Democrats. So what I'm saying is the Democrat Party is dying. You're completely right. It's a dying party in a death spiral. And what Trump is now doing, he's creating a majority coalition, almost a super majority coalition, a 70-30, even 80-20. And look at the antics last night. Look, you can't clap for a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer. You can't stand up and acknowledge mothers who've lost their children to violent, criminal, illegal aliens. You can't stand up for the family of Corey Comparator, who lost a firefighter because he literally put his body to shield his wife and his 2 young daughters. You're sick. You're evil. You're sick. You're demented, diabolical, and deranged. And that's why outside of the far lunatic left, who can support these people? No one.
Find your iHeartRadio everywhere.
Senator Obama, you lie. She tried to have him removed from Congress, but she only could get him censored. And then on top of that, the Democrats all holding these signs. If I was a Democrat with one of those signs, I think I would have put it in front of my face so people wouldn't recognize me. I am just very happy with the way the speech came out, and I love the things that he did. And one other caller said that he spent too much time on his panel, his cabinet. I think he did it right because he said this is what they're planning to do. So it was just not only introducing his panel, but also explaining what his goals were for them.
Yeah, exactly. No, Tom, I disagree with that point that was mentioned earlier. I agree with you. I thought it was necessary for him to talk about his cabinet. Why? To show the country, look, these aren't just my goals, objectives, aspirations. I've assembled one of the best cabinets, one of the best teams in American history to get it done. In other words, he's telling you, like, be confident. We're going to get it done. Listen, this is not my first term. I got my people now in every position that I want. We're going to make it happen. That's why, honestly, Tom, it was almost a flawless speech. To me, it was as close to perfection as a speech as you could come. Arthur, and thank you for that call, Tom. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Arthur, we've got 2 minutes. The floor is yours. Go.
Oh, geez, I needed 3, but that's all right. Well, the Democrats can't cease to exist. As bad as they are, and they turn around, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video is worth even more than that. But Trump's got to seize on that and get all of that into the film can and start spreading around the country with Republican ads as to what these people are about. And by the way, there's no sense in saying that we have a media in this country because we don't have a media, and it's not fake news. It's dishonest and corrupt news. And the only reason that some of these people are coming to his side is because they're afraid of the new FCC, that the powerful FCC that may take their licenses away for all of the damages that they've caused. And we know what the Democratic Party is. They're the party of slavery, segregation, Ku Klux Klan, defund the police, Black Lives Matter, riots, murder. Everything that's wrong, that's ever been wrong with this country have been caused by Democrats. Not that there haven't been some decent Democrats, but and especially the group that we have in Massachusetts. And we can't get, and the Democrats can't cease to exist because finally, we've got a great story that just came out of Connecticut the other day that five, including one of the stuff are on trial for stuffing ballots and election fraud, and it's not just in the biggest state of Bridgeport; it's statewide, and they've got people coming forward explaining exactly what's been going on.
Arthur, you hit the nail right on the head. The Democratic Party is committing suicide in front of our eyes. The American people now are being awakened, and now we're starting to find out how they've been cheating, using rampant voter fraud. That's how they've been winning, and those days are coming to an end. Bye-bye.